Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin if you guys are new around here, and I blog over at the Simply Organized Home. I share all about simple living and budget life, and today I am sharing with you guys my 6th annual budget binder. This budget binder is a PDF download that you guys can grab. I will have all of the links for everything down below where you can learn more about it and purchase one to go ahead and get started budgeting today. As a bonus, I also have not only the 2022 forms for the entire year, but I've also added a bonus that if you guys go ahead and grab that today or anytime in the next 10 days, you can get the November and December budget forms as well. So you can literally get started budgeting right now. Let's go ahead and jump in to the 2022 budget binder. I'm going to share with you all of the forms that are included and kind of walk you through how to use them. So let's get started. I've really simplified this year's budget binder and kind of gone with kind of a blue and green color scheme. You will see that there are 7 different cover options. So if you guys have a binder with one of those clear plastic sleeves and you want to go ahead and put a cover on it, you can use one of these cover pages, or you can just kind of use it at the beginning of your binder. So I have one page with all of the 6 different colors that I chose to use, as well as one that includes all of the colors in just kind of a simple striped form. Like I said, this comes in a PDF download, so you guys will get the option of just downloading the entire kit. Now that is over 200 pages. You can also choose to just kind of pick and choose different sections that you want to go to that are smaller PDF downloads and much easier and more manageable to kind of look through and decide what you want to print. But if you guys are looking to decide which forms would be best for you, you need to go to this form, and this is the How to Set Up Your 2022 Budget Binder. This form it's actually like 10 or 11 pages, and it's going to walk you through each of the different forms, and it's going to show you a picture as well as a really good description of what that form is used for and how you can make that function for your family. You're not going to need all 200 forms. You're going to just use the ones that kind of pertain to you and that maybe fit your lifestyle. So like I said, this is a long PDF, so just take your time and walk through this. If you don't get enough explanation in this video, go to this form. This is going to help you. There's also a second form that says how to print, and that's going to show you how to access all of the different PDFs and how you can print it to kind of make it work really well in a binder for you. Since this budget form is kind of a Dave Ramsey inspired budgeting system, I have added in these forms that kind of show different possible sinking funds and cash envelopes. Like I said, this budget binder is Dave Ramsey inspired, so if you are following Dave Ramsey and you want to have those steps at the ready for you, all of his baby steps, I do have a form where you can kind of add this to the front and maybe your goals section, or just another area where you're going to see it often so you can kind of remember the different goals that you have set. I also have this form that's budgeting tips. I get asked a lot of questions and I get a lot of emails. So I have added this in here just as kind of those like frequently asked questions that I receive in my emails so that you guys can go here first. And then if your question isn't answered on this form, feel free to send me an email. I definitely love to get you guys' emails and answer all the questions that I can. And I always have my email down in the description box below. This next form is for kind of yearly planning. So I like to use this form for birthdays, holidays, different anniversaries, things that you might have to spend money on. And I also like to add in any of those bills that might be quarterly, annually, or just kind of once a year, those ones that maybe you tend to kind of forget, things like maybe an Amazon Prime membership, maybe your insurance premiums, property taxes. You can add those to these different boxes in these different months, and so then when you're planning that month's budget, just come back to this form and see the things that you need to plan for that month. This yearly financial goals form has 4 different boxes where you guys can plan out some very specific goals that you want to reach during 2022. Now, if you have more than 4 goals, just print an extra form. However, I really think that if you just kind of simplify the amount of goals that you have, you're much more likely to achieve them. So instead of trying to set 10 or 15 different big goals, Stick with just 3 or 4 goals and really focus on those this year, and you will be much more likely to get those goals accomplished. This next form was a requested form, and this is a yearly calendar. So this is the entire year of 2022 on one page. You can kind of see when your paychecks are going to come in, maybe highlight different days when certain bills are due. Just kind of use this form however you feel like would best suit your family. This next form is also a requested form. So this is a yearly spending tracker. I feel like sometimes we don't realize how much we're spending in different areas because it's just little bits here and there. But when we have an overall view of how much we've spent in a certain category, it can kind of be mind-blowing and a little eye-opening. So if you want to track your spending in different areas for the year, this is the form you're going to use. Now, I think a lot of us can really easily calculate out different things like our mortgage and our car payment and any of those kind of regular bills that don't change. They're just kind of fixed expenses. But you're going to probably want to use this for things like groceries, gas, entertainment, clothing, maybe different sports that your kids are involved in. Sometimes those can get really, really expensive, and we don't realize how much we're spending in those areas until we add it up throughout the entire year. So this gives you a column to add in the different categories, and then each month you can add how much you spend in that category and then get a total over here at the end. Now, kind of in reverse of that form is this form, and this is the annual budget form. So this is a form that will kind of give you an overall view of what you would like to spend in different categories throughout the year. So there's 2 different forms because sometimes expenses are monthly and sometimes they're more by paycheck. So like you might take your grocery money out by paycheck and have a certain amount for each week. If you're paid, let's say you're paid every other week, that's how our family is. You might just take out a certain amount every 2 weeks to spend on groceries. But with our monthly bills, you might have a mortgage, you might have an electric bill, you might have a water bill. All of those are going to be your monthly expenses. So you can kind of separate your expenses and then have a grand total. And now these totals should be your net income or your expected net income for 2022. Make sure not to forget things like savings, investments, giving. All of those things should be included in this budget as well. This next form is an emergency form spreadsheet tracker. So this is going to track any money that comes in or out of your emergency fund. So you have columns to decide what you're doing, what your action is, whether you're depositing money in your emergency fund or you're pulling money from your emergency fund, the purpose, the date, the amount that you pulled or the amount that you deposited, and then your running balance. This is a really good accountability form. Because when we have accountability, when we have to write it down on paper, probably discuss that amount with our spouse or significant other, we're more likely to not just pull money from our emergency fund to go out to eat. We're only going to pull money for actual emergencies. Now, each month you will see that there are 13 different forms for that month. You probably won't need all 13 forms. In some forms, you might need a couple of that specific form per month. So I'm going to walk you through all of these forms so that you guys will kind of have a better idea of what might work for your family. So the very first form is just a title page. If you guys want to separate your binder, if you don't have kind of the binder dividers and you just want a title page to maybe use the Post-it on or one of those Post-it tabs, you can use this title page. So there's a title page for each month. The next form is the monthly calendar. So I like to use these forms to kind of add in when our paychecks are going to be and when our fixed expenses are going to come out. So that way I can look ahead and know when to expect bills to be pulled from our checking account. There's also a section down here where you can set some monthly goals and kind of use that one yearly goal form and break them down into smaller monthly goals. This next form is a little bit different than years past. So instead of having multiple different monthly budget forms, I only have one this year. I've really simplified. But what you're going to find is this form is you can use it as just a monthly budget and have one budget for the entire month. Or our family chooses to budget by paycheck. And we've done this for a solid year now, a little over a year, and it has been literally life-changing to our finances. we actually use the budget template, which I will be sharing in a separate video so you guys can learn more about that. It's more of a digital format for budgeting. If you guys don't like the paper format, you can go and check that video out and use that, because it is something that you can put down on, you can put it on your phone or your tablet, any kind of device, or you can use it on your computer, and it's a budget by paycheck method. This can also be used in the budget by paycheck method, and that's how I would recommend you use it. However, make it work for you and make it work for your family. So up here on this side, you'll see this is where you're going to add in all of your income for that pay period. So if you have multiple streams of income, you're going to add all of those here. You're going to take your off the top. So these are the most important things. This is going to be things like giving, savings, and investments. So you're going to take those things off the top first before you start adding these expenses and all of those other things that have to be paid on a regular basis, and the fun things, the things that we need and the things that we want. And if you want to separate those down here, I think that's a phenomenal idea. Kind of put your have tos over here and your want tos over here. That way you can kind of adjust these numbers a little bit more. So these, like I said, are your expenses. This is going to be where you're going to put your rent or your mortgage or electric bill, your phone bill, your water bill, your groceries, your gasoline, all of those different expenses. Now, I like to separate anything that's going to be kind of a cash envelope or into a specific sinking fund into a different form. So then I just have one line for cash and one line for sinking funds. And that makes it much easier. I know how much cash I need to go get out of the bank when I do go take money out for cash that way. But you just do it however you want. There's plenty of space here to kind of work your budget. Now down here, you're going to add up all of your totals. So you're going to have your total off the top up here, your important, your have tos here, and your want tos here, and you're going to add all of that up, and that's going to be your total expenses. Then you're going to come over here to this side and you're going to do your income minus your total expenses should equal 0. If it doesn't, that's where you have to go back up here to your budget and start adjusting some numbers. So this form is really flexible this year. It's really, I've really simplified it. I've really kind of let you guys get in the driver's seat and make it work for you and make it your own. The next form is a joint cash envelope and sinking funds form. Now this form is kind of everything all on one page. If you're doing the budget by paycheck method, you might not need as much space, so this form might work for you. So you could just have those two forms to budget for your entire pay period, and it might work out just perfectly. Now, we have options, so don't feel like this is something you have to use. So up here in your cash envelopes, you're just going to have things like groceries, gas, entertainment, out to eat, coffee, spending money, all of those things, and you're going to have a running total over here. And so that's how much cash that you're going to want to take out of your budget. And if you are using this form, that's where you're going to go back to your main budget and put cash envelopes and have your total cash envelopes down here. And that's going to be what's going to add into your budget. Down here is your sinking fund. So these are going to be more savings type accounts. So things that are bigger purchases that you're planning for. You might have a sinking fund to pay for vacation or Christmas. Those are really, really popular sinking funds. But you might have a sinking fund for your car savings or your property taxes if you pay those once or twice a year. Insurance premiums if you pay those, quarterly or twice a year or once a year. So all of those things might be included down here in your sinking funds section. Now, if you feel like that one page with both of them on it is just not enough room, there's a full page here where you can use for your cash envelopes. And then another full page for sinking funds. Now, sinking funds are things that you're going to be adding and subtracting from possibly throughout the month. So you're going to have a list of your funds over here. So these are the different ones that you want to kind of have money going in and out of. You're going to have a start amount. If you don't have any sinking funds, that number is going to be 0. If you do have some sinking funds, if you've already saved a little bit for a specific fund, let's say you've been saving for a vacation already and you have $1,000 in that fund, your start amount here is going to be $1,000. And then if you are adding to that fund that month, you're going to put that under the plus column, and then you're going to have an ending amount. So if you add $200 to your vacation fund, you might end up with $1,200. However, if you are pulling money from that vacation fund to go on a vacation and you take $900 out, that's going to go under the subtraction line. So you're going to have $1,000 minus $900 because you went on a vacation, so now you only have $100 left in your vacation fund. And that's simple math. That's how it works. And that way you can keep track of how much you have in your sinking funds. This next form is an irregular income form. Now, you might decide to not use this form at all, especially if you're budgeting by paycheck, you might just add that irregular income into your base paycheck, which is totally fine. However, if you're budgeting by the month and you want to add in kind of commission-based income or overtime or sales, if you're in sales and you have like a bonus check come, if you have a side hustle and you make money that's not really consistent, but it does come in from time to time, this might be the form that you want to use. So you're going to have a prioritized list down here, and that's really important that it's prioritized because you're going to start at the top. You're going to work your way down this list based on how much income comes in, because we often don't know what this amount is going to be. So it's really important to make this list prioritized. So you need to put your first goal. So if you have a savings goal, if you're working the baby steps and you want to get your $1,000 emergency fund, that's probably going to be top number 1. If you're paying off debt and you're on baby step number 2, those debts are probably going to be in here. If you're in baby steps 4, 5, and 6, then you have a little bit more freedom to kind of use this money in different ways. Things like maybe funding an extra vacation or funding some new furniture or whatever it is, you're going to use this income to fund that. And so your running total will work your way down over here. So you'll continue to add on what you've listed over here. So if you have, oh, I want to have my $1,000 emergency fund. So that's $1,000 over here. And then I want to pay off a debt that's $200. And then I want to pay off another debt that's $300. But you only make $1,200, then you're only going to be able to hit those first 2 goals. And that's okay. You can just keep rolling these prioritized list over to the next month. Now, if you want to kind of track your spending, but you do not want to use cash, I understand that. You want to use a debit card or a credit card, this is the form that you're going to need to use. So, for example, let's use groceries. So you're going to put your groceries up here. That's going to be your budget category. And you're going to want to print one of these for however many budgets you use that month. So if you are budgeting by paycheck and you get paid twice that month, you need 2 of these. Okay. So you're going to also have as many as categories as you want to track. So if you want to track 4 different categories, you only have room for 2 on one form. So you might need 2 categories per paycheck. So let's use groceries as our example. So we would put groceries here. Let's say we have $300 budgeted for groceries. So you would put $300 over here in this budget line. And then every time you go to the store, you would plug in where you go and how much you spent, and then subtract that from your budget. So if you go to the grocery store and you spend $100, you would have $200 left. And then you go to the grocery store again and you spend $50, you'd have $150 left. So you're slowly working your way down until you get to 0. And once you get to 0, you have to stop spending. That's how a budget works. We don't go over budget. And if we do go over budget, you have to go back and adjust those numbers. If you don't adjust those numbers, your budget is going to be off. This next form is a charitable giving tracker. So every month you can track through your charitable giving. If you give to more places than just one, this form can be really helpful so you know how much you're giving each month, especially if you kind of have some sporadic giving throughout the year to different organizations or people or different things. And they're kind of more like lump sum and not just like a monthly donation. Then this can be really helpful. So you can keep track of all of your donations and have a total for the month of how much you gave away. And then later on, I'm going to show you in just a few minutes about the yearly charitable donation tracker, which can be a really helpful form when it comes time to do your taxes. The next 2 forms are credit card trackers. If you decide to use credit cards, I highly recommend tracking your spending on those just to make sure that we don't go overboard and that we're paying off the balance every single month. Because sometimes we get to the end of the month and we realize that we've spent more on our credit card than we intended. And I think that happens to a lot of people and it can really throw our budget off. So keeping track of that spending on a form like this can be really helpful. So you can budget. I have 2 options. You can budget or you can track by your budget category, or you can track your spending by credit card. So if you have multiple credit cards, you might want to use this one so that you can track your spending a little bit easier. The next form I have is kind of a goal setting form for the month. So you can set 2 goals up here and some action steps that you want to take during the month to achieve those goals. I highly recommend using that yearly goals form to get your goals for this so that you can kind of break them down into smaller, more manageable chunks. And then down here, you can also have a monthly recap of how much money you've earned, spent, saved, and the amount of debt that you've been able to pay off. The last form for the monthly forms is just a blank notes page. I feel like we often need just some space to write notes, do a little bit of math, have some reminders, and if you need that space, these monthly notes forms can be really helpful. Getting back to some more trackers, this tracker is for your debt snowball. So if you are in debt payoff, then you probably are going to want to track your debt using one of these two forms. There's two options. So this form has space for you to track 4 debts. I highly recommend you put your debts in order from least to greatest. And then you can have your starting balance for the year for each one, and you can really track how much you're paying off each month for each one of your debts. And then you can roll those smaller debts as you pay them off into your larger debts and keep rolling. And that's how the debt snowball works, and really see some traction and some progress throughout the year. The next option is just kind of your outstanding debts form. So you can kind of do the same thing. There's 4 options or 4 debt options that you can use if you need to. If you have more than 4 debts, just print out more than one of these forms. And then you can track your minimum payments, any extra payments you make on that, and then your running balance throughout the year. And it's for the entire 12 months of the year. So that way you guys can really see your progress in your debt payoff. The next few items are spending trackers, and I think that these can be really helpful when we're planning our sinking funds and to kind of see overall how much we're spending in different budget categories. If you're not using that yearly budget form where you're kind of tracking your yearly spending and you just want to track in just a couple of different categories, then these forms might be good for you. So this is just kind of a blank one. So I think that this would be great if you want to track your spending on something like your kids' sports. I think sometimes that we just don't realize how much we're spending on those activities, especially when we're just writing out little amounts here and there, but those little amounts can really add up. And so this form can be a great way to track that spending and just kind of decide different categories. Think about those different categories that you are spending money on, and this tracker can be really helpful for that. I also have a very designated tracker for car maintenance. So you can track how much you're spending in car maintenance. This can be really helpful when you're planning your sinking funds for the next year. That way you know how much you've spent in car maintenance in a specific year and how much you probably need to save each month to kind of plan ahead for that. Same with medical and dental. You might need to be tracking that spending. And then pet care. So if you have a pet and you want to track how much you're spending on your pet, this form is for you. Just like I have spending trackers, I have kind of a really blank make it your own savings tracker. So if you're saving for a big purchase, maybe a car or furniture or a home remodel, whatever it is, this tracker is going to be helpful so that you can really see your progress getting towards your goal. Like I said earlier, there is a charitable giving tracker for the entire year. So once you complete those monthly forms for your charitable giving, you can take that total and just add it into these months. And then throughout the year, as you add those totals together at the end, you'll have an overall total so that you'll know how much of your income that you were able to give away. This next form is a ledger. It's just like you would see in a checkbook. So if you want to kind of have a ledger for one of your savings accounts or checking accounts and kind of have it stay inside of your budget binder, this form is probably going to be helpful. I know I've had some people tell me that they've kind of used the pockets of their budget binder to kind of keep a ledger. And if you guys don't want to do that anymore, then you have a form just for that. The yearly bill pay checklist is just a kind of just check it off as you go. The bills that you need to pay each month, those kind of regular monthly expenses are the things that we need to make sure get paid every single month. So if you're somebody who's really busy and you just need to go back throughout the month and make sure that everything has been paid, you can make a list of all of your kind of regular monthly expenses and then check them off for each month. Now, this one is completely blank. And this one has a list of the bills over here of things that you might want to remember. If you don't want to use this form, but you just want to kind of have this as a guideline of things to remember, that might be helpful too. Christmas is literally just around the corner, so if you have not started saving, now is the time to do that. And if you're trying to kind of start preparing for how much you're going to spend on Christmas, you can have a list of gifts that you need to buy or those people that you want to buy for and a budgeted amount. But also don't forget all of these things. I feel like these are the things that really can throw us over our budget. Things like Christmas cards and decorations and the supplies and materials and food and all of that you might need for a gathering. Plus just miscellaneous things like activities that you might want to do during the holiday season and crafts that you want to make with your kids. All of those are the things that can really bust our budget. So having this form and really being prepared for everything that Christmas is going to bring can be really helpful. And then I also have a vacation budget planner. If you have a vacation planned for 2022, but you aren't sure how much you need to save for that vacation, I would start using this planner right now. Get an idea of how much you're going to need to save and how much you're going to need in your sinking fund, in your vacation sinking fund, come next summer or whenever you plan to take the vacation, and then divide that amount by how many months you have to save, and that's how much you need to add to that sinking fund. This can be a really eye-opening because sometimes I think we think vacations are going to cost much less than they end up costing, because that's how my brain works. Maybe I'm alone, but I always think, oh, that won't be very much, and then it's always way more than we plan or intend for it to cost. And having a plan in place before the vacation comes is essential to staying on your budget. The very last form is just a blank notes form for 2022. If you just need to have a few of these in the back of your binder so that you have a place to jot notes, kind of do some math, whatever it is that you might need, then you might want to add a couple of these forms to your print list. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you got some inspiration on how to set up your 2022 budget binder. I will leave the links where you can get your 2022 budget binder, as well as learn more about the budget template down below. If you're more of a digital person and aren't really paper pencil, then the budget template might be more up your alley. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. I have my email down below. You can also add comments to this video, and I will do my best to answer all the questions that you have. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.